What is up, you guys? It is your favorite nurse, Nurse Q, and I am back with another girl talk video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about two of the most common feminine issues that can cause vaginal odor, vaginal discomfort, as well as abnormal vaginal discharge. I know I can have a habit of rambling about a little bit, so I'm going to be leaving the timestamps here or here so that you guys can go ahead and skip over to whatever part is relevant to you. So if there's anything specific that you guys want to know about and you guys kind of just want to leave out the rest, then you guys can go ahead and do that. But don't come running in my DMs, because a lot of times people message me talking about how they've watched a certain video of mine and they ask me questions that I covered in that same video. So two of the most common feminine issues that we see a lot is bacterial vaginosis as well as yeast infections. Now, both of these infections or imbalances are caused by bad bacteria or just a disruption of your normal vaginal flora. But before we get into the symptoms of these issues and what these issues are, let's first go into what your flora is. So all up on, in, and through our bodies, we do have bacteria. That bacteria is good bacteria and it makes up our natural flora, it makes up our immune system. And although depending on where we're looking on your body, the bacteria may be different, they might have different names, they all serve one purpose. Their job is to protect your body at all costs from foreign bacteria that can cause any type of illness. This does include our vaginas. Our vaginas actually do have good bacteria that serves the same purpose. It is there to make sure that all the bad stuff stay away so that your vagina can stay healthy and happy. But there are things that can throw this pH off. And what does it mean when your pH is thrown off? So naturally, there is a pH scale and we are supposed to be at about 4, I believe. Naturally, our vaginas are acidic. So on that pH scale, you would have one end, which is acidic or too acidic, and then you would have the other end, which is too alkaline. Now, although neither bacterial vaginosis or yeast infection is a sexually transmitted disease, the thing that BV has over yeast infections is that BV is usually directly related to sex. Now, it doesn't always have to be related to sex, but it generally is, whether a woman is sexually active with one partner or with multiple partners. The difference between BV and yeast infections is that when it comes to BV, like I said, we do have a safe area on the scale where we are supposed to kind of stay at, right? We don't want our vaginas to be overly acidic and we don't want them to be extremely alkaline either, because it's supposed to be acidic and sit kind of right in the middle of that scale. Now, although vaginas are acidic, the thing with semen or sperm is that it's actually alkaline. And having a lot of unprotected sex can cause your vagina's pH to become too alkaline, throwing off its natural pH. Remember, we have to stay kind of in the middle. And the other end of the scale is alkaline. So if your partner is ejaculating in you, then your partner is kind of pulling you out of that middle zone into the alkaline zone, which is not a zone that we want to be in as women, because that's not where our vaginas are supposed to be. Although BV and yeast infections are both infections, BV is a bacterial infection, whereas yeast infections are a fungal infection. So with BV, you would have an introduction of bad bacteria into the vagina, whereas with yeast infections, women are most likely using products or doing things that cause the amount of good bacteria she has in her vagina to die off, which means that her body isn't able to fight off bad bacteria the way it should, and that causes room for fungi to be able to colonize into the vagina and grow, causing a yeast infection. So we can understand why having unprotected sex can throw off your vagina's natural pH. It's not because you are dirty, you're not showering, or you have anything necessarily wrong with you. Although we are meant to mate, men's semen is alkaline and our vaginas are acidic for some reason. Now, when it comes to yeast infections, like I said before, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with sex. Sex will not usually cause a yeast infection. Yeast infections are usually caused by foreign things that should not be put in your vagina being put in your vagina. So using soaps, scented soaps full of fragrances, full of chemicals, those things can definitely throw your vagina off, because if you guys don't know, you shouldn't really be using any type of soap or anything down there unless there's something wrong. If you are showering, water or a very light unscented soap can do the trick, but really water should be the only thing that you're really using down there. So things like putting things that shouldn't be down there, like soaps, extremely tight clothing, and when it comes to sex, using flavored or scented condoms and stuff like that. Those things can also throw off your pH balance and throw you off where you're supposed to be in the scale, because you're putting things that shouldn't be in there. One thing that people also don't know is that yeast infections can actually be caused by certain medications. Remember when I said that we all have a certain amount of good bacteria within our bodies, and it has to stay within a certain space on the scale? Well, what happens when you take certain medications like antibiotics? Antibiotics don't know the difference between good and bad bacteria. So whether the bacteria is good or bad, it's going to attack it. And then if you don't have enough good soldiers in your body, that can also disrupt your pH balance and cause you to get a yeast infection. A lot of women will say that they took antibiotics for one issue and they ended up with the issue of having to deal with the yeast infection because of that antibiotic killing off too much of the good bacteria within their bodies. People take antibiotics for all types of issues that don't have to be related to sex at all, and they still end up getting yeast infections because of the antibiotic. So now, what are the difference between the symptoms of the two, and how can you tell which one it is that you have? Now, when it comes to BV and yeast infections, I think that the symptoms are pretty distinctive, and it's quite easy to be able to tell which one that you have if you're trying to rule out one or the other. So when it comes to yeast infections, the giveaway symptom will be vaginal itching. If you're feeling any itchiness, that will definitely be a symptom. A lot of the times with that itchiness, people will scratch, and if you are scratching, then you might also start to feel a little bit of burning. So burning is not necessarily the first symptom that you're gonna feel. It's usually itching, but because people can't help but scratch, because if you've had a yeast infection, that shit itches, okay? It itches, and I'm not afraid to tell you guys that I've had one before. I'm a girl like everybody else. I go through things just like everybody else. So yes, I have dealt with these issues before, and I could tell you it is unpleasant. So itching, burning, you might have some vaginal dryness, and the reason why your vagina might feel a little bit drier is because of the change in consistency that happens with your discharge. Discharge should be like whitish or clear, and it should be maybe a little bit creamy. But when it comes to yeast infection, you're going to see that your cookie is going to dry up, and that discharge will go from being a little bit more on the creamier texture to clumpy and cottage cheese like. You might even feel a little bit inflamed down there, and if you take a look, there might be a little bit of swelling or a little bit of redness, and that is normal for an infection. For an infection, any type of infection, you will usually have, you know, some swelling or some redness at the site. So it's normal that you would see that in your vaginal area. But the one thing with yeast infection is that you will not usually have any type of foul vaginal odor. So if you have vaginal odor, chances are it's not a yeast infection, because even though vaginas all have a scent, and even though there may be a little bit of a change in the scent of your vagina with a yeast infection, it shouldn't be a foul odor. So those are the symptoms you're mainly gonna see with yeast infections. Now, when it comes to bacterial vaginosis, the number one giveaway is going to be that fishy vaginal odor. If you're smelling fishy, if you see a change in the consistency or the appearance of your discharge, the color of your discharge, that may be a sign that you have bacterial vaginosis. So people say that their discharge looks a little bit more frothy. It might have more of a gray appearance versus a clear or a white appearance. But once again, that number one giveaway for bacterial vaginosis is going to be that foul, fishy smell. Let me go ahead and show you guys some products that you guys can use for both of these issues to alleviate some of the symptoms and hopefully get rid of the issue altogether. So my first and favorite thing to recommend for these issues, whether you have the issue or you just want to prevent it in the future, is taking your probiotics. This can be found in supplements, and it can also be found in yogurt as well. Yogurt has tons and tons of lactobacillus, which is the good bacteria that you could find in your gut, and that also maintains a healthy vagina as well. The first product that I want to show to you guys is this product right here, and that is the Feminine Balance Complex with probiotic and aloe vera. So whether you actively have bacterial vaginosis or you actively have a yeast infection, or even if you don't have one, taking probiotic supplements or just consuming probiotics within your food is super, super important for vaginal health because it helps your body maintain that healthy amount of good bacteria in your body that your body needs to fight off. Let me go ahead and show you guys some products that you guys can use for both of these issues to alleviate some of the symptoms and hopefully get rid of the issue altogether. So although you can buy the products individually, I want you guys to know that it does come in a pack. And I do think it's a really good thing to have a pack and to have a variety of different products for emergency situations. As a woman, you definitely want to have your stuff on deck. So go ahead and use my code for 20% off. So my first and favorite thing to recommend for these issues, whether you have the issue or you just want to prevent it in the future, is taking your probiotics. This can be found in supplements and it can also be found in yogurt as well. Yogurt has tons and tons of lactobacillus, which is the good bacteria that you can find in your gut and that also maintains a healthy vagina as well. So whether you actively have bacterial vaginosis or you actively have a yeast infection, or whether you don't have, or even if you don't have one, taking probiotic supplements or just consuming probiotics within your food is super, super important for vaginal health because it helps your body maintain that healthy amount of good bacteria in your body that your body needs to fight off the bad ones. The next thing, which I actually should have introduced first, are these test strips. I've actually showed you guys how to use these exact test strips in another video, but this is what the test strip looks like. It has different colors on it and it tells you what is normal and what is abnormal. So you just have to take the strip. Hold on, let me go ahead and open this one. So it comes with this ribbon that's kind of like a tape, and you're just gonna go ahead and take that tape and you're going to rub it on your vaginal wall and you're just gonna give it about 5 minutes to read. Just go ahead and take your ribbon and match it with the colors that are displayed right here. If you see that the color on the ribbon looks anything like the 4 ones that fit within the normal category, then you know your discharge is normal. But if it's a little bit too much on the blue side right here, then you know that is abnormal discharge and something is wrong and needs to be done. And it is most likely going to be BV if it's all the way up here. The next product that I want to introduce to you guys, and this is specifically if you guys have a yeast infection. I don't think this will help you too much if you have BV because the symptom that this product treats are not necessarily the symptoms of BV. So I don't think it will help you too much with your BV, but this is an essential oil spray. It's an intimate oil blend and it's a blend of aloe vera and tea tree oil. If you guys aren't aware, tea tree oil is actually an antifungal and a natural antibacterial that can be used to treat yeast infections. I love this blend right here. The aloe vera is great for soothing the area. It might help a little bit with, you know, the discomfort, the dryness, but the tea tree is really going to go in there and attack that bacteria. Now the next product I want to show you guys is this feminine wash. And before you come for me, because I have said that I personally do not like feminine washes, and like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't believe you should be using anything down there unless there's actively something wrong. If there is something wrong and you're using products to help you get rid of the symptoms of whatever it is that you have, that is one thing. But if you just have a healthy regular vagina and there are no abnormalities going on, then water should be the only thing that you're using down there. In this case, the main reason why I would recommend this, and I recommend this for people who have BV, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for people who have bacterial vaginosis because the boric acid might be a little bit too harsh, but this actually has boric acid, aloe vera, and probiotic. So you can use this just the way you would use any other feminine wash. Use this while you actively have bacterial vaginosis, but once the issue is gone, go back to a regular. I've already showed you guys in previous videos how to use the boric acid, but for those of you who don't know, it does come with an applicator package like this, and it has a bunch of applicators in there. I believe 15 applicators. All you have to do is go ahead and open the applicator. It works exactly like a tampon. You have the plunger right here as well as this open space right here. And all you're gonna do is open your probiotic package. You're gonna go ahead and grab a capsule. You're gonna put the capsule into the vagina, right? you're gonna put the capsule into the applicator, take the applicator and put it up into the vagina the same way you would a tampon, and then go ahead and press the plunger, and then the probiotic, or the boric acid, sorry, is going to be injected into your vagina, and it's going to go ahead and do its thing. And lastly, the last thing that I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys, and this is for both BV and yeast infections, but I would say more for BV, and these are liner pads that you could go ahead and use. It shields from discharge and it promotes a healthy pH balance. The reason why I recommend using this, especially for people who have bacterial vaginosis, is because as your body is excreting that discharge, you don't want to be excreting discharge into your underwear and then taking that same funky discharge and, you know, pulling it back up onto yourself. It looks like a regular panty liner, just to show you guys what it looks like. This is what it looks like, and you could just go ahead and put it onto your underwear and just use that every day to make sure that you're not, you know, pulling up that excreted discharge back into that area. You don't want that. All right, so that is it for our girl talk session today. I really hope this was informative to you. If it was, if you learned anything, please go ahead and let me know down below. And if you have ever experienced any of these things, please share your story down below. You would not imagine how many women all over the world DM me thinking that something is wrong with them, feeling embarrassed, feeling ashamed, feeling depressed because of lack of education when it comes to these issues. So let your fellow sisters know that they are not alone. Leave a comment down below, support the channel by dropping a like, and if you haven't done so yet and you would like to see content like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe and turn on your notification bells. I do skincare, feminine talk, nursing care, vlogs. We do it all over here, and you definitely do not want to miss out on future content. So I really hope to see you all in my next one. Thank you guys so much for supporting and watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.